Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Green.
And I'm Erin Clark. We are beginning tonight with those crop circles and a mystery of who or what created them in a field near Chular. Action News reporter Felix Cortez is live at the scene with tonight's top story.
Well, Erin, Dan, who or what created that crop circle? That's the big mystery in this field just behind me. And right now, so far, nobody has stepped forward to take credit. This is what was discovered Monday morning in a field just outside Chular. A huge crop circle in the middle of a grass field. By early afternoon, the pictures and story had gone viral, and looky-loos started showing up in droves, hoping to get a glimpse.
We heard there was something going on around aliens in Chular.
I'm a skeptic, but this could be aliens. I don't know. I mean, I'm always willing to believe something, so, I mean, if there's proof, then you can't deny proof, but right now, it looks like aliens to me, so.
There it is. Something happened in this field overnight. This YouTube video shows strange bursts of light near the crop circle. By daylight, this is what we saw overhead. A detailed circle that could have only been created by another life form, not humans, according to this Chular man.
The lines of the square and the circle is specific. The mathematics and the squares is the graphic. The lines, the graphic is special. No, it's possible. No, it's possible.
So far, nobody has come forward to take credit for the crop creation. So there lies the mystery. Is it the work of extraterrestrials or the creative genius of pranksters?
I think it's pretty cool. It just looks sweet. I mean, at least it was on grass. It wasn't out in the fields, actually ruined really bad crop or anything. But yeah, it definitely looks like pranks or something to me.
Definitely pranksters. This is kind of a strange place to have anything out of the ordinary happen. If you're going to choose anywhere, Chular isn't typically your highlight of places.
And back here live on Chular Canyon Road, what is normally a quiet farm road has been lit up with cars carrying loads of people and kids who have come here thinking they might get a glimpse of that mysterious circle in the field. And as you can see behind me, police have come by, trying to keep traffic in check out here. It has been pretty busy throughout the day ever since this thing really went viral. And security has even been brought in to keep people out of the field and out of that crop circle. And I'm hearing two scenarios of what might happen next. One, the owner might bring in a specialist to test to take soil samples of the area around that crop circle. The other is he might bring in heavy equipment, just mow this field down. My guess is this crop circle won't be here much longer. Erin, Dan.
Pretty intricate, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Felix. The Sheriff's Department spokesman says deputies know about the crop circles, but they say nobody has filed any police reports with the department.
So what is a crop circle? Usually sizable pattern created by the flattening of a crop. Formations like the one in Chular, usually circular in shape, but not always.
Documented cases substantially increased in the 1970s. Since then, 10,000 crop circles have been reported in 26 countries, 90% of them, 90% in southern England. Many of the formations appearing in that area are near ancient monuments like Stonehenge. The scientific consensus is that most or all crop circles are man-made, with a few possible exceptions due to meteorological or other natural causes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Erin Clark. Dan Green is off tonight. Well, as we get ready to welcome in 2014, people in Chular had to say goodbye to the mysterious crop circle discovered Monday morning. Tonight, the crop circle is no more. Plowed under earlier this afternoon, the design cut into the Chular field attracted many onlookers, and some were disappointed to see it go.
It's pretty sad. Like, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Like, why get rid of it?
It would be very easy to tell, like, if you were able to look at how it was laid down, if it was, you know, a bunch of people with boards.
Apparently, the property owner was not the person responsible for creating the crop circle. He says he was out of town on vacation when it was cut into his field. But we believe we do have some new insight, if not answers, into the crop circle's meaning. For more on that, we go to Action News reporter Michelle Imperato.
Erin, we've received plenty of input from people speculating about what, if anything, this crop circle means. But we've had a couple of Braille experts weigh in, and they seem to have the most tenable explanation. One of them is Deborah Falanga, and she's from New Jersey. She saw the pictures on our website and is certified by the Library of Congress as a Braille transcriber. She tells us that if you look at this correctly, it is textbook perfect Braille. And here's why. You have to look at it this way. This is the top, and down here at the bottom is Chular Canyon Road. Now, the Braille is in 3 rows inside of this innermost circle. So we start with the first row. This backwards L is a number indicator, meaning that everything to follow is a number. So then we have the first number, which is the Braille number 1, the number 9, the number 2. Your number indicator again, number 1, number 9, and number 2. On the second row, we start out with the Braille symbol for the letter B, followed by our number indicator, the number 1, the number 9, and the number 2. Then we have our number indicator again, followed by the number 1. So down here is the third row, and it appears to be identical to the top row. Now, what this all means, nobody can say. We here at KSBW are speculating that the B is meant to indicate that it's Braille. Now, as for the number 1, 9, and 2, there is another suggestion that those numbers are key to the pattern. So now you have to take a look at it this way, at the outer circle, and look at it as a clock face. And appropriately enough, the dots would be at the number 1, the number 9, and here at the number 2. So what does it all mean? Are these the only hidden codes in the crop circle? And is there some special meaning to all this? We're still working on that, but we may never know. Erin, back to you.
Right, we may never know, but it certainly is fun to try and figure it out. In case you're wondering, the number 192 does have some significant meaning. According to Google, 192192 is the official website for Team USA Cycling. In the California Penal Code, 192 is the code number for manslaughter. If you're thinking science, 192 is the atomic weight of the element iridium. And 192.com is a search engine for people and places in the United Kingdom. For more on what the image in the crop circle might mean, as well as a slideshow of crop circle pictures, you can visit our website at ksbw.com.
Radiation, urgent, urgent, urgent. Folks, I don't know how much higher I got to raise my voice. But can you see the sword coming? And the Bible says, I set you a watchman on the wall, and if you see the sword coming and fail to warn my people, I will require their blood on your hands. Well, let me sound the alarm of, again, radiation, radiation, radiation. There's something horrific going on in Japan. Yes, that earthquake on 3/11/11, when it shook the ground, it rattled the teeth of Tokyo for over 6 minutes. And then a tsunami come racing ashore with such power and devastation. And it came inland 6 miles. And then it knocked the earth off its axis 4.8 inches, shortening the day we live now by 0.1666 seconds. But wait, then it left 6 nuclear reactors melting down in the madness of the radiation. Well, we've got some breaking news. 2 different stories. Number 1, Russia has decided they have just turned away 130 radioactive Japanese cars banned from entering Russia. I repeat, Russia is decided to ban 130 radioactive Japanese cars. What? Here's what it says: more than 130 used cars from Japan were denied access to Russia. And of course, the consumer watchdog agencies are screaming because of the fact that these were trying to be sold into Russia. These cars are contaminated. Water leaks at Japan's crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant. Strict control of all cargo arriving from Japan will continue throughout the year 2014. But that's just the beginning, folks. Breaking news, ABC News and ENE News reporting government scientists baffled over white spots, weird white spots on the cows around the Fukushima power plant. A farmer said, quote, "No one knows what they are. I think it's from radiation. our town's contaminated like Chernobyl. We were just thrown away like trash, he says. Officials order the animals to be slaughtered in Japan. Mark Wilsey, an ABC News affiliate correspondent out of Australia. He calls himself the leader of the Fukushima nuclear resistance movement. He says this one ranch called Ranch of Hope is 14 kilometers from Fukushima. I won't obey what the government says because we are betrayed. Our community was destroyed by this nuclear disaster. Mark Wilsey says a radiation decontamination team arrived there and has defied the government order to slaughter the cows. Instead of being slaughtered, these cows should be used to study the long-term effects of the radiation. Killing them is just destroying the evidence. Mark Wilsey says scientists have descended on the property, saying it is important that this herd is studied. I told you, folks, this thing is going to get, you're just beginning to see the beginning of sorrows. Wormwood is coming upon the earth one way or another. There could be a massive meteorite that strikes the earth that could create this type of thing. Look, we have a tsunami that created this from an earthquake in Japan. So we understand that the radioactive, so when I say there's radioactive snow this morning, I'm not playing games with you. I'm not joking around in a winter wonderland. Okay? Are you serious? No. Slap yourself and wake up and look in the mirror. Something biblical is going on with the signs of the second coming of Christ. There is a Fukushima nuclear power radiation catastrophe of biblical proportions, and it's being buried and hidden by some of the Illuminati. That's right, the one world government does not want to share the poison and the pathetic portrayal of what's going on actually around the globe. Remember what the Bible said in Revelation chapter 8. Let's remind ourselves of some of the things that are coming upon the earth. Oh, my. And look at it. In Revelation 8, it talks about either a comet or a big asteroid hitting the earth. But it also goes on to say in verse 11, and the name of the star that would come would be wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood. Many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, of course, third part of the moon, third part of the stars, all these different signs. But now we're dealing with a catastrophic event because of an earthquake, tsunami, and now nuclear fallout. And this nuclear fallout may be worse than anything else. Are you serious? Are you serious? Now, I'm not saying that this is the wormwood event of Revelation chapter 8. No, it's not. No, it's not. But don't be stunned by radiation water. Don't be stunned by the ground being polluted. Don't be stunned by the animals being diseased and destroyed. Don't be shocked by these things. But wait, there's more. There's another pandemic that's spreading on the earth. It's the H1N1. It's being recognized now by the United Nations and the CDC. Something biblical's going on with the signs of the second coming of Christ. We have a terrible situation. I want to thank Stephen. I want to thank Nick of New York for the radiation article. I want to thank, there's another person. I got to thank them. I got to thank who this is. Let me see who that was. I got to thank Nick of New York for the radiation information. I have to thank Stephen of Oklahoma. I have to thank Sheila of Alabama for this information that's coming in. James McKay, got to thank him as well. But listen to this. January 4th, yesterday, health officials say cases of the H1N1 virus, also known as swine flu, across Canada and the United States are increasing and approaching the peak flu season of February. The Centers for Disease Control reports that the United States, the flu season has hit southeastern states, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Texas, the hardest hit with H1N1. The Bible says there will be famines and pestilences, different diseases. There will be these types of events taking place. And we have the Wormwood situation, or I should say the Chernobyl situation, or I'll just call it the Fukushima nuclear fallout. We have now an H1N1 pandemic taking place around the United States. Also, listen to this, 81 people have got the flu in the last week, very sick with H1N1 virus in Wisconsin. And it continues to go on. Maybe this frigid Arctic blast of bitter cold weather, maybe this will kill off some of this. I don't know. Maybe God's going to help us and kill off some of this flu-like diseases that are spreading. But wait, there's more. There's been a huge volcano eruption in Indonesia last night, causing thousands of villagers to run for their lives in evacuations as Mount Sinabung erupts massively 50 times last night, causing this was a volcano that had been dormant for centuries, and it woke up in the year 2010, and now it has erupted again more than 50 times Saturday night, as it erupted into the panicked residents of mountainside villages in western Indonesia were forced to scramble from their homes when a nearby volcano erupted late Saturday night. Something biblical is going on with all of these signs of the second coming of Christ. Oh, the land is greatly polluted, and people still won't repent. The word repentance is nowhere found anywhere in these stories. Man keeps trying to fix his own problems and won't go to the Lord and ask the Lord why we're in the condition we're in. And the answer would be the sin of mankind, the rebellion of mankind, the outright idol worship of mankind, the abominations of mankind have brought the innocent blood that cries from the ground of mankind, has brought this upon the earth according to the Word of God. I don't know what else to say, but you don't want to miss tonight's broadcast.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diane, and today is January 5th, 2013. Here are your news updates for today. A lot of news going on. You just saw the crop circle information, and they're saying 192. That's also a highway in Melbourne, Florida. Wow. Maybe I'm gonna decode it for you. Maybe they're saying don't. They're saying it's Braille. It's like they're showing Braille, and they're giving like a code of 192, 192. Maybe 192. If you add up the numbers, it's January 11th. Don't be blind. Maybe it's about what's incoming from Ison. Maybe the debris. Heads up. Don't walk around with your head in the sand. Don't walk around like you're blinded of things around you. You better keep your eyes to the sky. On January 11th, 2014. They made it like a clock. So they're talking about it's a time. You see what I'm saying? 9 plus 2 is 11. The 1 for January. So 1, 1, 1. Alrighty then. That's what I say. Something might happen on January 11th. In just a few days. And it probably has to do with the Ison Debris trail that we're going into. Alrighty then. Also, some university was doing a study on time travel and saying it was impossible to go into the past. After watching all types of different conspiracies of things in the movies, things here, maps being shown, what if, here's a theory, someone is going back in time, and it's not the Illuminati or whatever showing what they're going to do. What if it's someone going back into time and trying to warn us ahead of time that this is going to take place, but we have to stay with the prime directive and not just blurt out, this is going to happen on this date. What we can do is just hopefully show you a pattern, make people put certain things in the movies. It might be the same person going around saying, hey, let's put this map in there in the Dark Knight. Let's do this or that. See, someone might be time traveling into the past and giving you warnings of what's going to happen if it's not corrected. It's warnings from maybe a time traveler. How's that theory? Because I don't believe there is no such thing as coincidence. Coincidence? Oh, no such thing. You just don't understand how it works. Alrighty then. So 192. I say it's January 11th. And keep your eyes to the sky. And heads up. Don't walk around blind to whatever's going on around you. Alright? Alright, moving on. There you go. Maybe you'll be looking back on this video. Look, she told you. Alright. It's also a highway, though. New Haven. Wow. New Haven is 192. Yep. Thought I'd give you a heads up on that. Strange, huh? Alright. Let's go to E&E News first. Energy News. Alright. U.S. Canada. LA Times. Alarm as West Coast sardine crash likely radiating throughout ecosystem. Oh, look at that, those words. Experts warn marine mammals and seabirds are starving, may suffer for years to come. Boats returning without a single fish. Monterey Bay. Hard to resist idea humpback whales are trying to tell us something. Yeah, they don't want to be swimming around in a bunch of radiation. That's what they're telling you. It's hurting them. Alright. We see radiation from Fukushima in soils in Southern California, especially our desert regions. Heads up! High concentrations in seaweed prevented harvest this year. Also found in cattle and chicken feed. Hey, heads up! You might have to know exactly where the cattle and your chicken feed is coming from. Make sure it's not coming out of Fukushima. Make sure you might have to import that stuff and not feed it to them. If it's found in there, are you still feeding it to them? My goodness. Alright. I might have to import it from somewhere else. Okay, moving on. E&E News, Energy News. Today, January 5th. TV, massive radioactivity releases at Fukushima going on for almost 3 years now. Visible steam, just the tip of the iceberg. NHK, containment vessels are broken. Also today, ABC News. Government scientists baffled over white spots on cows around Fukushima plant. Farmer. No one knows what they are. I think it's from radiation. I guess the farmers know more than the scientists now. You know that? Want to bet they're right? Our town's contaminated like Chernobyl. We were just thrown away like trash. Officials ordered the animals to be slaughtered. And what happens when there's other things going on, like people and deformities? What are you going to do with them? Can't hide it for very long. That's all I have to say. Right, moving on. I'll be running a whole thing on Fukushima. I got off of Miss Milky One Clown channel, so stay tuned. Stay tuned. It's going to be a long report. Very informative. Very informative. Alright, moving on. The Watchers watching the world. Strong eruption of Mount Singabong triggers more evacuations, preparing for a worst-case scenario. When mind games masquerade as physics. Uh-oh. Moderate solar activity continues. Big sunspout delivers goodies. Heads up. Alright. Moving on. A lot of news for Sunday. Alright, Indonesia's Singabong volcano. This is the extinction protocol 2012 and beyond. Indonesia's Singabong volcano erupts 50 times in one day. Giant sinkhole reported in Peak District of Derbyshire, UK. Unusual number of Arctic snowy owls spotted in U.S. And you know where that is? In Florida. It was spotted in Florida by Jacksonville. Another pandemic, H1N1, sweeping across U.S. and Canada in deadly wave. So, grab those wipes, those little alcohol wipes, and wipe everything. Try hygiene. Try to stay out of crowds. Maybe better to shop at night when there's hardly anybody in the store, and you know, if you have to shop. Also, conflicting reports. I'm looking at the Weather Channel, and it's saying it's going to be 40, the low, Monday night in Central Florida. And off of, I guess, the local news, I had people telling me that it's going to be in the 20s. So, heads up. Be prepared for anything. You don't have a big heater or whatever. Maybe you need to move to the smallest room in the house. You and the pets in the smallest bedroom. And that way, if the rest of the house gets real cold, alright, but you're not burning up all the electricity through the whole house. See what I'm saying? Try to localize everything. Alright? You might want to just camp out in one small room for a while till we come out of all this. Bring the pets in there too. That way you don't have to burn a lot of electricity heating a whole house if you're not going to go through a whole house. Just localize, stabilize everything into one room. If you have pets outside, bring them in. And I don't know what you would do if you have fish outside, you know, you have little ponds and things, I don't know. You might have to cover your plants, because I think it was 4 years ago in Florida, it's about 4 years ago, had to cover the plants. You don't want them turning to like mush. Alright, so start getting prepared with your old sheets and whatever that you can cover your plants. Don't wait till the last minute, so you're out there freezing, trying to cover things. I did that. And luckily I covered everything in time before the sun went down. You want to do it like, start it off in the afternoon or something. Just start covering them so you're all prepared, everything's covered. Alrighty then, and bring in what you think won't survive outside. If it's potable, then just bring it in, throw it in one of the bathrooms. Just fill up your whole bathroom with plants or something if you have to. But try to protect your plants, especially if some of them are food or something. Alrighty then. Okay, moving on. I was looking at something else. Let's see here. What's this? Oh, if I can get over there. There it is. Okay, let's check out a different source. I was looking on Dredge. Followed the link. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Alright, let's see what's going on here. One was about the snowy owl that ended up in Florida. They're invading Florida, and usually they're in the Arctic. Canada is so cold, residents are experiencing loud booms. They call them snowquakes. Also, let's see if there's anything else going on here. Also, there was body parts in Sudan falling from the sky. They figured someone was like in the fuselage or something, somewhere underneath the carriage. Did you see that Heathrow jet pilot saw a high-speed UFO that was cigar-shaped today? Also, let's see, that's maybe it for right now, other than we have record cold going on. So please, everyone, try to be safe. Historic freeze, wind chill 70 below zero, and it's also the coldest in 20 years, and it's life-threatening, so heads up. Man burns down house trying to thaw pipes with blow dryer. Don't do that, then. They call it the killer chiller. Update. Coast Guard to assist rescue ships stuck in Arctic ice. Also, Hillary 2016, she makes it official with a question mark. Heads up on that. Alrighty then. A lot of news. A lot of news for a Sunday. Alright, be safe. Stay warm. Localize your heat. Do whatever it takes. Be prepared for anything, and if you have to, stock up. The pets are sleeping. Alright, take care. Just be prepared for anything. Be safe out there. Check on your neighbors. Make sure everyone's prepared for this. And stay tuned. I'll attach all the Fukushima update stuff. Some more stuff. Alrighty then.
Well, leaders in Tokyo are looking to the past to set Japan's energy policy for the future. They're preparing to sign off on a plan that will commit the country once again to nuclear power. The move marks a major turnaround from a promise by their predecessors to create a nuclear-free society. NHK World's Mayu Yoshida has the story.
Officials at the Industry Ministry review the Basic Energy Plan every 3 years. The document sets the guideline for Japan's mid- to long-term energy policy. The officials published a draft of the latest plan earlier this month. The government is likely to finalize it in January. The draft describes oil and liquefied natural gas as important power sources, but it also says nuclear power would belong to a fundamental category of energy known as the baseload. The plan says renewable energy is promising, but not cost-efficient. It pledges to decrease Japan's reliance on nuclear power, but it also praises the energy source for being cost-efficient, stable, and helping to cut carbon emissions. The draft advocates restarting nuclear reactors as long as they meet strict safety standards.
The government will restart reactors after making sure they're safe.
The Basic Energy Plan reflects Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's resolve to ditch a promise made by the previous administration. That government, led by the Democratic Party of Japan, vowed to end the country's reliance on nuclear power by the 2030s. It made the decision in the wake of the 2011 disaster at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Meltdowns at 3 reactors prompted a national debate about energy in resource-poor Japan. All 50 reactors across the country went offline. The government at the time said it will limit the lifespan of all nuclear reactors to 40 years. And it said Japan would have no new plants. Business leaders opposed the decision. They said Japan's economy will struggle without a cheap and stable energy source.
We need to ensure the safety of reactors as quickly as possible and accelerate the return to nuclear power.
Nuclear power plants supplied Japan with about a third of its energy needs before the Fukushima accident. Since then, their contribution has fallen dramatically. Now, the energy sector depends largely on thermal power. Oil and gas imports have soared. The weakening yen has pushed Japan's trade deficit to a record high. It's marked its longest losing streak of 17 months. Some firms are worried about rising electricity costs weigh on their bottom line. Takao Kashiwagi, who sat on the panel to draft the energy plan, says Japan needs nuclear power to be competitive.
We'll have major problems without nuclear power. Businesses will have to leave the country. Industries will become hollowed out. Jobs will dry up. So Japan should restart its nuclear plants under the new safety standards in order to stay strong and globally competitive. That's what our panel concluded.
But the Japanese public remains wary. The latest NHK poll shows that nearly half of the respondents oppose restarting nuclear power plants. Some experts say the plan does not count the cost of using cutting-edge technology to improve safety at plants or of decommissioning them.
The new plan is based on a one-sided estimate of the cost of nuclear energy. It only looks at fuel prices. It doesn't show if it's really economical to maintain nuclear power plants either. People can't make informed judgments with data like that. The political process of adopting this plan has been completely unsatisfactory. I don't think the plan is a true reflection of public opinion.
Fukushima is still fresh in the minds of Japanese people. Problems at the plant are likely to have an impact for years to come. But Prime Minister Abe and his cabinet say they're taking all necessary precautions. They plan to press on and make nuclear energy a pillar of Japan's economic growth as it charts a path to recovery.
The operator of the Fukushima Daiichi power plant has submitted a 10-year business plan to the government together with Japan's state-backed fund for nuclear accident compensation. The plan does include restarting nuclear reactors to turn the utilities business around. Tokyo Electric Power Company plans to begin restarting reactors at the Kashiwazaki Kariwa plant along the Sea of Japan coast next July. TEPCO estimates this will help cut fuel costs for thermal power generation and lead to a pre-tax profit of about $1 to $2 billion a year. The power company plans to set aside $20 billion to decommission the Fukushima Daiichi plant and deal with its contaminated water. TEPCO will ask about 2,000 workers in the corporate group to take early retirement.
We think it's our top priority to take full responsibility for the Fukushima accident.
Hirose said the company will keep itself lean and seek profitability. Resuming the operation of the Kashiwazaki Kariwa reactors will remain key to the plan. But these reactors can be restarted only after government safety inspections and approval by local authorities. There's still a possibility that the reactors may not go back online.
A Japanese power company wants to restart a nuclear reactor damaged by the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. Tohoku Electric has applied for a government safety screening of the reactor at its Onagawa plant in northeastern Japan. A fire broke out at the plant when the quake hit. The tsunami damaged some of the plant's emergency generators. The utility is building seawalls 29 meters high to protect the plant from future tsunamis. It also plans to install a filtered vent by March 2016. Plant officials would use the vent in an emergency to release pressure in a reactor containment vessel. The vent would also limit radioactive emissions.
We want to prove that our safety measures meet the new standards set by the Nuclear Regulation Authority. Actually, we're doing more than that. We want local people to know that. We want to dispel their anxiety about the safety of the plant.
Utilities have submitted safety screening applications for 8 other plants since July. Those plants were not damaged by the quake and tsunami. All reactors in Japan are now offline.
A new set of safety guidelines for nuclear facilities other than power plants has come into effect. They will cover almost 250 facilities nationwide. The rules are much stricter than before, especially for reprocessing plants. Operators will need to take similar measures against severe accidents as those who run nuclear plants. NHK World's Takafumi Terui has more.
In total, 248 facilities across Japan will be subject to the measures. The new rules apply to nuclear facilities, such as a nuclear fuel fabrication facility in Tokai, Ibaraki Prefecture. Japan's nuclear regulatory body, the NRA, approved the rules last month in response to the 2011 accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant.
The new safety standards were laid down considering Japan's environmental conditions and other difficulties. I think they are strict enough.
The severity of the requirements varies according to the type of facility. For instance, Kyoto University's research reactor in Osaka is required to take measures to prevent accidental emissions of radioactive materials. The NRA's personnel will regularly carry out inspections. The strictest rules apply to 2 reprocessing plants and 7 fuel fabrication facilities. Operators must take measures equivalent to nuclear power plants to prevent serious accidents such as hydrogen explosions and nuclear chain reactions. They need to have emergency measures in place in case of huge earthquakes and tsunamis. Anticipating the new measures, the operator of Rokkasha reprocessing plant in northern Aomori Prefecture has already installed some equipment such as this fire truck. It can douse storage pools for spent fuel to prevent the fuel from melting in the case of a power loss. They also installed this air compressor to help prevent hydrogen explosions by supplying air to lower the hydrogen concentration in the plant in the case of a power outage. But even with these new standards, some local officials and residents who live near these facilities express anxiety Misawa City in Aomori is in the vicinity of the reprocessing plant in Rokkasho. Currently, the city has an evacuation plan for residents who live within a 5-kilometer radius. But they feel that the Japanese government should review the measures.
We hope the government will announce the guidelines as soon as possible. Then we can start drawing up the new evacuation plan.
I think evacuation plans for residents should be strengthened along with the preparations for starting the plant. But I feel that the only thing taking place is the speeding up of the start of the plant's operation.
The accident at Fukushima Daiichi shook the nation. Even with the new, stricter regulations, the anxieties of people living close to nuclear-related facilities have not been entirely quelled, and more steps need to be taken. Takafumi Terui, NHK World, Tokyo.
Japan's meteorological agency says there were more than 2,300 noticeable earthquakes in Japan this year. That's lower than last year's tally, but still higher than the annual average before the March 2011 quake. Agency officials say they categorized 2,366 tremors as noticeable earthquakes by December 29th this year. That's down from over 3,000 last year and from more than 10,000 in 2011. In April, a magnitude 6.3 quake shook Awaji Island in Hyogo Prefecture. That was for the first time in 2 years that they observed an intensity of 6- on the Japanese seismic scale of 0 to 7. And in October, a magnitude 7.1 quake off Fukushima Prefecture prompted officials to issue a tsunami advisory. Meteorological agency officials say the March 2011 earthquake is still producing aftershocks. They're urging people to be prepared for a major quake.
The people at the agency have also added up the number of typhoons and tropical storms. They say there were 31 over the past year. The officials say 14 of the storms affected Japan. 9 of those approached or hit in autumn. That equals the seasonal record set in 1966. Severe tropical storm Mani hit western Japan in September and caused serious damage. The next month, a typhoon Wipa triggered landslides on an island south of Tokyo. 36 people died. Agency experts said high pressure over the Pacific Ocean and unusually weak westerly winds drove the storms toward Japan.
Japanese government officials say they plan to revise their policy for disposing of nuclear waste. They want to play a more active role in selecting disposal sites. The officials plan to store highly radioactive waste from nuclear plants deep underground. They're drawing on a law that came into effect in the year 2000. They've been asking their local counterpart to suggest possible sites. But local officials have not offered up any locations. Experts have made some suggestions, and industry ministry officials say earlier this year they'll start acting on those proposals. Government officials plan to draw up a list of sites that are deemed scientifically suitable. Then they'll ask local authorities to agree to the projects.
It will take time for the government to regain public trust and support for the use of nuclear power. The government should listen closely to people's opinions and change the policy if necessary.
Some experts are concerned that proceeding with the new policy in a haphazard way could cause doubts among the public and make the issue harder to resolve.
In the rest of the news, U.S. Navy sailors on board the USS Ronald Reagan were some of the first Americans to respond to the tsunami and nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan in 2011. Now they're suing TEPCO, the company in charge of the stricken Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. At least 71 sailors on the USS Ronald Reagan have reported radiation sickness, and they're suing TEPCO, alleging that the company knowingly downplayed the dangers of nuclear radiation at that Fukushima site. Of those 71 sailors, at least half now have some form of cancer, according to the lawyer representing them. And other sailors are dealing with thyroid and reproductive health problems. So, did TEPCO knowingly mislead the world about the radioactive dangers at Fukushima immediately following the devastating tsunami? And could this lawsuit be the first of many to come? Joining me now for more on this is Kevin Camps, radioactive waste watchdog at Beyond Nuclear. Kevin, welcome back.
Thanks, Tom.
It's always nice to see you.
Thank you.
So, what's the story? I think I've seen absolutely no coverage of this in any American media. So, first of all, is it actually real that the soldiers aboard the USS Ronald Reagan off the coast of Japan when Fukushima melted down were exposed to high levels of radiation?
Well, it's a shocking story, and I first learned of it last March 11th, which was the second anniversary of the Fukushima catastrophe beginning in 2011.
So they had kept this buried for 2 years?
Two of the sailors came to a big gathering in New York City to mark the anniversary, and they were suffering health effects from their service on board the Reagan. Turns out that the Reagan was anchored just a mile or two off of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant during the worst of the radioactivity releases, which was news to me. I mean, I follow this as closely as I can. 2 years into this thing, I find out that the Reagan was that close to these catastrophic radioactivity releases. So the crew on board that ship, 5,000 plus sailors, were in harm's way for several long days on end. Not warned by TEPCO, not warned by the Japanese government, not warned by the United States government, which had radiation detecting planes flying all over northeastern Japan. So,
well, you would think that an aircraft carrier in this day of dirty bombs and you know that they would have radiation detectors on the ship.
Well, some of the first news that was really disturbing in the first days of Fukushima Daiichi was that the aircraft carrier detected radioactivity on the helicopters coming back, landing on board the flight deck. And so one of the sailors who's now stepped forward in a big way was servicing those helicopters. Another of these sailors that I met in New York, his name is Maurice Ennis. He set off the radiation monitors below deck when he came down from being on the flight deck. So there were lots of indications that there was something seriously wrong, but they stayed in this contamination plume for days on end. So they were getting the radioactive gases, which they were breathing in. They were getting the fallout onto them, so they're being exposed that way. What I didn't realize until this latest news about the relaunch of this lawsuit against Tokyo Electric, even the water that the sailors were drinking was from their desalination system. So they were getting the seawater that was contaminated with radioactivity. It was being desalinated by the ship, and they were drinking it. They were cooking with it. They were showering with it. Wow. But those desalination processes don't take out the radioactivity.
Right, because salt is a fairly large molecule. It's sodium and chloride, and if you've got just an individual atom as opposed to a molecule or a particle, the desalination is not going to take it out. Right?
You need special filters. You can't get tritium out of water, period. Not at industrial scale.
It's small.
It is water.
It's helium.
Yeah, it's hydrogen. It's radioactive hydrogen. Yeah. You need special filtering to get out the cesium, to get out the strontium. None of that was taking place. So that ingestion pathway combined with all the others could account for some of these health effects we're seeing.
So what's the, has the government stepped up and done anything? Are they testing the 5,000 soldiers, or is it just these 71 who are sick who are suing? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, the common story I keep hearing from these sailors who are, stepping up and speaking out is they don't even have health care. I'm not sure what's going on, but they're kind of on their own resources. Most have had to leave the service because of debilitating health conditions. So they seem to be in, desperate straits. They're looking for, some funding to help them get the health care that they need.
Senator Sanders is the chairman of the Veterans Committee. You should bring that to his attention. I'll try to do so tomorrow. He's going to be on our show. We just have 90 seconds here. I'm wondering what's we've heard that Reactor 3 has got steam coming out of it. We were reporting today on our radio show that it's not, it doesn't seem to be an immediate crisis. What is going on?
Well, I think Arnie Gunderson at Fairwinds has explained it well. It's the weather conditions that make the steam visible, but what people need to realize is that we're almost 3 years into this thing. Those releases are happening every day. Those releases atmospherically...
It's just that when it gets cold enough, you see it.
You see the condensation, but those releases into the ocean are happening every day. They have been for 3 years. So that is the massive radioactivity release that's going on. Once in a while, it becomes more visible because of atmospheric conditions. That you would see, you see your breath when it's cold outside. Right. So we're seeing this heated water coming out of Unit 3. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
And Unit 4, the one that was listing that had all the rods up at the top, that they were going to start taking those rods out, pulling the cigarettes out of the broken, crushed pack. Yeah. How's that going?
Very little reporting, which is kind of scary, actually. So one would assume that without the reporting that it must be going smoothly, but I'm not sure that that's the case.
Maybe it's not going at all?
We don't know. We hear very little about what's going on.
And the stories about the Japanese mafia hiring homeless guys to clean this site up, is that true?
You know what's incredible? Yeah, it is true, is this new State Secrets Act is making things even worse. Where it was difficult for reporters to get in and cover this stuff in the first place, now it's against the law.
This is a Japanese State Secrets Act.
That's right.
That's amazing. Kevin Camps, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Tom.
Good to see you.
Workers are about to begin preparing to drain underground tunnels at the disabled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. This comes before the start of a project to freeze the earth around the openings of the tunnels to block the flow of contaminated water. The tunnels are believed to be one of the sources of radioactive materials that are polluting the groundwater at the facility on a large scale. Workers at Tokyo Electric Power Company plan to block the flow of tainted water between the damaged buildings and the tunnels. The workers will start burying pipes in the ground to carry refrigerants later this month. They plan to start draining the contaminated water from the tunnels in April after the freezing work is completed. TEPCO will also begin testing a plan to freeze soil over a large area. The eventual goal is to surround the reactor buildings and other facilities with walls of ice to prevent fresh groundwater from seeping in beneath the facilities. A large amount of highly radioactive water has accumulated beneath the plant. TEPCO officials will also set up radiation monitoring equipment at various hot spots on the floors of reactor buildings. The readings will be used to support the decontamination work by robots that will follow. Officials say they will also study how to remotely locate and repair holes in the reactor containment vessels. The vessels were broken in a nuclear accident.
Farmers across Japan will soon be joining forces to boost their sales overseas. Trade experts are getting ready to help them market their produce together under a national brand. Officials with the Japan External Trade Organization say foods promoted as regional specialties don't have a strong identity abroad. They say producers in different regions should brand their offerings as Japanese and join hands to promote them. For instance, they want to see cooperation between scallop farmers in the northern prefectures of Aomori and Hokkaido. They plan to help producers operate booths together at food fairs.
Pushing the All Japan brand is the best way to help consumers abroad appreciate what producers have to offer.
Japanese government leaders aim to more than double annual exports of agricultural and marine products by 2020.
Launched an investigation on Saturday at a factory of the subsidiary of one of the largest manufacturers of frozen food in Japan for alleged poisoning of its products. Last month, health authorities in Gunma Prefecture near Tokyo found that 7 kinds of meal packs produced by Ackley Foods, a subsidiary of Maruha Nichiro Holdings, contained a pesticide called malathion. Maruha Nichiro Holdings has recalled 94 products, including pizza and croquettes. These contained as much as 1.5 million times the allowed limit of the pesticide. Health authorities say it is unlikely that the pesticide was added in the ordinary production process, as it's not used in the factory. Police allege that someone could have intentionally added the poison. They started an on-site investigation at the factory in Gunma Prefecture on Saturday. Police will check details of production flows and question officials and workers. Officials at Ackley Foods say the poisoned products were packed in the same room and kept in cold storage in the factory after they were cooked on 3 separate lines. Ackley Foods officials say they've also started interviewing the factory's 300 workers to find any irregularities.
Expectations are increasing that Japan will play a leading role in the push for nuclear disarmament. Government officials recently made the historic decision to commit Japan to a United Nations statement that opposes the use of nuclear weapons under any circumstances. The UN statement came amid arguments between countries that want a treaty banning atomic weapons and those favoring a more gradual approach that allows for nuclear deterrence. Previously, Japanese government officials had said this no-use policy was incompatible with the country's reliance on the U.S. nuclear umbrella. But an observer on nuclear disarmament notes the country should take the lead on the issue.
Japan, the only country to have suffered atomic bombings, has a crucial role in global nuclear disarmament.
Japan plans to host an international conference in April to discuss nuclear disarmament. The meeting of foreign ministers from countries that do not possess nuclear arms will take place in Hiroshima, the site of a nuclear attack in World War II.
We need to get subscribed and get this unity stronger and beat YouTube at their own game. Okay, that's what this is about. Like I say, go to the remix button, hit the remix button. That way you'll have this video and keep up with this. Otherwise, YouTube's just going to control us, guys, and it's really